I am so excited for yet another epic conversation on the Life at Full Blast podcast. I'm so excited to introduce our next guest. Her name is Candy, and she is a renowned business coach for aspiring coaches. And honestly, when I saw her online, I was like, oh my God, she does a lot of the same things I do. But she's got a different take on it because she's a recovering corporate executive. And that's something that I don't have experience with. And we always get different perspectives when we have these conversations. So Candy, I am excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I'm really glad that we've worked it out and we're going to have a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive right in because I want to know, first of all, I want to know what got you into this work. As a recovering corporate executive, there's got to be a story there that had you shift from, I'm not doing this corporate thing anymore. So tell us how you got here.
Yeah, so the path that I took probably looks like a lot of people's paths. It looks like I did all the right things. I checked all the boxes. I got the degrees, I got the promotions, I got the raises, I got the bonuses. And then I realized that every Sunday, sometimes all day Sunday, sometimes just Sunday night, I was crying because I had to go to work
Mm.
on Monday.
Mhm.
And that, it took me a while to hear the message, but that message was really loud that I was not doing the things that I was meant to be doing in this world.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's sort of the start of it. And then, I did my values work and what's my purpose? What lights me up? And really, the thing that I love to do is I love to talk to people. I love to have in depth conversations with people. And
Mhm.
so, I started to unpack a few things, and lo and behold, there was this thing called coaching.
Yeah.
So I tried it and then I loved it and I still love it. So that's my journey to get
I
to
love
where I
that.
am today. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is very common, right? We find ourselves doing something and we're like, how did I even get here? And my story is very different, but still the same thing. I got to a point where I was, how did I get here? And we kind of go through this awakening of like, oh, there's so much more. There's so much more
Mhm.
available to us. I love that you shared that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So you work with coaches a lot around mindset, a lot around, building the business and things like that. And I want to dive into a conversation today because I know that you've got some really juicy answers here. What is it in the marketplace right now? Why is it that, and I get this with my clients all the time, why is nobody buying? Let's dive in.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's lots of reasons. And then there, at the heart of it, there's really only one reason. And so the lots of reasons, anybody who's listening or watching this, you know that you should be consistent. You know that you need to show up, that you need to have a clear message. You need to choose that one dream client and the niche and the problem you solve. You know how to go out and sign leads. You know how to do all these things. And
Mhm.
yet we don't do them, right? And there's a number of reasons why we don't do the things that we know that we should be doing. And at the heart of it is that we're scared, like we're pulled. We really want this. And then we're kind of scared. We're scared to show up as ourselves. We're scared to ask. We're scared to invite people to be our clients. We're scared to, turn the camera on and go live on video. We're scared to show up to a networking event. We're just scared. Like that's really what it comes down to. And I kind of laugh because I'm like, it's sort of a nervous laughter. It's like, yeah, I still get that, right? Like we're human and we're people, and this is meaningful work and it's important to us. And so it's scary doing the new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I ever did a Facebook Live. Man, I was terrified. And pushing that button, it took me like like 3 hours to finally get up the nerve. And then I stood there and I was shaking and I finally pushed it. And then you watch the video back and you're like, oh my God.
All right. So did you delete your first couple? Because I did.
Not. I did not actually. Unfortunately, my Facebook and Instagram have been hacked since then, so I never see it anymore. But for years, so after I did that very first Facebook Live, I ended up. I'm weird this way. I did a Facebook Live every single weekday for 4 years straight after that. That's why I'm so comfortable on video now. People are like, "You're so comfortable." I'm like, "I didn't start that way." But every year that the Facebook memory would pop up and I would watch it, not from a place of, oh, that sucked, but from a place of, wow, look at how far I've come. And it was a really cool celebration every year to see the growth.
Oh, I love that. And to see that, like, that's a great reminder, right?
Yeah.
And there's something else about, that you say about doing this is this becoming masterful, like show up and do the reps, just like when you go to the gym. You're not going to all of a sudden be the perfect weight and have the muscle mass that you want, but you're showing yourself that integrity and
Mhm.
your commitment to yourself and your commitment to the people that you're supporting. It's huge. I love that
It's
you had the courage to do that. That's great.
it's such a value of mine, like showing up, right? You're showing up for yourself. And as an ex-cocaine addict, I didn't show up for myself for a very long time. And they always I see this happening in the online space so much. I made $50,000 in 24 hours. I'm like, great. How much work did you do prior to that? Right.
Yes.
But it's this deception that's showing up online that it's overnight success. And that just simply it's not real. It doesn't exist. Like you said, you don't go to the gym and the next day you're like, yeah, I'm jacked. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who's like, okay, but I am showing up. I'm posting content every day. I'm asking for the sale. I'm getting into the DMs and having the conversations. I'm every day doing 1% more every single day, and they're still struggling to get sales. What would you say to them?
Yeah, so I would say there's two things here. The first thing is don't tell anybody, but go and sit with your journal and be really honest. Are you actually showing up every day? Or are you thinking you show up every day? Right.
Hmm.
So, I do this thing for my clients where I go and I'll have a quick look at their Instagram feed or whichever social media platform they're on. And so many of them say, oh, I'm doing it and it's just not working. And then I'm like, okay, well, you showed up last week and then 10 days prior and
Hmm.
then about 2 weeks ago, maybe once. And so the impression is that they really are showing up, but then the the data, or when you really go and look at the specifics of it, they're really not. So nobody else needs to know that. This is the place where we get really honest with ourselves. Like, am I really showing up? So we've got consistency, but also, are you really showing up? That different word. Do I see the spark in you when you're on that video? Am I hearing your voice coming through that post? Is it you, or are you just checking the box? So get super, super honest with yourself. The people that I work with, I can't teach this, but they'll inevitably come to a call and say, oh, it actually worked. And I'm like, oh, cool. What happened? And they'll say, I just decided to stop doing what all the gurus told me and what all the things I was supposed to do. And it perfectly branded. And I just saw something cool and I went and I talked about it.
Yeah.
They showed up. They showed
Yes.
up and they showed up. They showed up. Like
Yeah.
those two things are huge. So, we've got that word authenticity and being authentic. And I know it's a little bit hyped, but it's real.
It's
It's
very real.
real, right? Like I want to talk to the person. I don't want to talk to the Canva graphic, right?
The
So
perfectly polished human. Yeah.
exactly. So that's the thing. Be super, super honest with yourself. not from a place of judgment or a place of beating yourself up, but from a place of like, am I really showing up, and am I showing up? Start with that. That would be the place I would start.
I love that so much. And that's definitely something that I teach in my work, right? Like you can't pretend to be somebody else. And this is why I'm so adamant about being the rebellious leader, because you can't cookie cutter. All of us are unique little snowflakes. And so in that, you can't expect to like take somebody else's practice or coaching business that worked for them and just stick yourself in the mold and be like, yeah, I'm just going to do what they did and it's going to work. We've got to find, our unique path. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What do you found? So I'm curious, what about you? Like, is that something that really resonates for you? Like that when you are really present, does it really make that difference for you too?
So much so. Actually, I have a story that just happened yesterday of this very thing. So for the last little while, I've been playing around with my messaging and dialing it in a little bit more. And how am I actually showing up? And it's been tricky for me as a numerologist. How do you explain to people what a numerologist does, right? And yesterday I had somebody who was supposed to be on my podcast and they had rescheduled 4 times. It got confusing. There was mixed messages everywhere. And then, she's somebody who's a multimillionaire. She said, I'm going to be on your show. I'm going to help you out by being on your show. And then she messaged me half an hour before the show and said, I'm going to be 15 minutes late and I have to leave 15 minutes early. And in that moment, I was like, no, because I am somebody who is about commitment and integrity and doing what I said I was going to do. And my time is just as important as anybody else's. And so I made a decision right then and there to cancel the show. And I turned it into a piece of content because that was me in that moment. Well, that piece of content has gone viral. I can't keep it. So, and it's because I just showed up and I said, this is who I am and this is what I stand for. If you don't like it, go away. But it turns out everybody liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And it's just, sorry, I'm just kind of, the blank space in my head is me kind of thinking about it, is that the place where you've got the respect for yourself given, where you know what your values are and that you're going to live with those values, so that this is any success you create is meaningful success.
Yeah.
And also this thing about, entitlement, like no shade against this individual, but but behold the underlying truths, right? We know what the word but means. But at what time do we forget who we are, right? At what time does the business start to run us instead of us being at the, forefront of our business? Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just really cool to I just wrote a piece of content just from the heart. I didn't think about messaging. I didn't think about the hook. I didn't think about the call to action. And I just wrote this piece of content. And yeah, like today, I'm like, I can't keep up. I was trying to respond to all of it.
I love your story. And isn't it cool? There's always that thing. There's always that coincidence that kind of comes together, right?
Yeah.
So neat. Yeah.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about, there's some people out there who are like, but I spend my whole day in front of my computer and I'm doing things and I get a piece of content up, but then I'm like over here and I'm over here and I'm doing this and it feels like I've done stuff all day, but I'm not seeing the results. And at the end of the day, I look back and I go, what did I even do?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's busy and then there's productive. And there's a few things to consider here. So the first is that at times we have to treat our business kind of like a job. I create content, I post content, I respond to comments. And I don't mean that in a really robotic standpoint, because I don't, but I engage, right? And so if I had a boss, I wouldn't even consider not doing my duties, right? Like, Candy, you post content every day. Yes, I do.
Lip gloss.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like I wouldn't consider it. And I wouldn't consider it an imposition. It's just
Yeah,
part of my duties, right? Like this is
yeah.
other duties as assigned. And so there's that side of it. Then the other part of it is, do you forget what you're trying to do? We're
Mm,
not content creators. We create content. We're not influencers. We hope to have an impact on the people who are in our world. We're not, I don't know what else, I don't know what other example, but we're not those things. Our job as a coach with a coaching business is to sign clients, whether it's private clients or group clients or clients for your membership or clients who buy a digital product and maybe get a little bit of follow-up work with you. The purpose of our business is to create business, to create money. We get
yes.
really tangled. Like,
Oh, we
and
take
I
it so
and
personally.
listen, I do this too. Like, I want my business to be fun and entertaining
Mhm.
and satisfying and creative and fulfilling. But that's what hobbies are for, right? And at the same time, I want to have an impact with my people. So it's like when you're busy and you feel like you're doing a lot, but it's not really panning out, or you're kind of wondering, what did I actually do? Did those things actually have a through line to creating clients and creating money for you? So again, it's this, get really honest
Yeah.
with yourself. Like, so you create, like, I love to batch my podcast episodes. I get
Mhm.
great delight of, I recorded 5 episodes and I did this and I passed this off to this person. And I'm like, that's great. But did you go and talk to anybody today, Candy? Or did you
Right?
just stay in your she shed and record podcast episodes? And so I gotta, be there, right? I have to remember that, well, that's important and it's got a long-term value and it means I'm keeping that commitment of what I want to do. But I always have to remember that if I was a lovely little store on Main Street, I wouldn't expect to not open my doors and,
Yeah.
put on my welcome sign. I would have to do that
Yeah.
and do the other stuff.
I love that you bring that up. It's like that level of self-leadership, right? And I love that. Treat it like it's your job and you've got to go to work every day. And I say this all the time. It's just because you're having a crappy day and you feel a little sad doesn't mean that your boss is going to be like, oh, don't worry about it. There's still
Yeah.
down, right? So yeah, I love that you bring that up. And I think that there's ways to find ways to make it fun. Like we don't have to sit there and go, I have to post the content today. We can make our content fun. We can make our sales processes fun. We can goof off and listen to tunes. I mean, how many of us sit at home and we get to listen to our favorite music, drink our favorite teas, take breaks whenever we want? Like, we're pretty spoiled, honestly.
Yes.
And it's just that self-leadership of, okay, these are the things that move the needle. I need to create content, post content, talk to people, and create sales pathways every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love this, that these things can be fun. And for me, there's another kind of a reframe that I sometimes use is that I don't expect to have fun with everything that I do.
Yeah.
And I can be satisfied,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe it's not that fun for me to create those bunch of posts, but I can feel satisfied that I decided to do it and that I did it. Right.
Yeah.
And so this level of satisfaction to
Mhm.
me is often more valuable than the fun, because the fun is fleeting. Like, of course, I like to have fun, but sometimes we can be mature about this area of our business too and go, gosh, it's going to be so satisfying. Like how many podcast episodes have you done so far? Do you know?
Oh, I've guested on over 100 and I have almost 200 on my own show.
Yeah. How satisfying is that to look and go, wow,
Yeah.
look at those conversations I had. Look at that, that asset that I've created. It's so satisfying. I bet they weren't all fun, but satisfying,
Yep,
right?
this is true. And it's
Yeah.
like I always bring this back to like things like doing the dishes or doing your bookkeeping even. Like, I'm sure that there are people out there who love doing their bookkeeping. I'm not one of them. But it's gonna get done, right? And so
Yeah.
I can do it with the attitude of this sucks and I've just gotta do it. Or I can do it with the attitude of I'm gonna be confident and satisfied and understand where I'm at with my numbers, and I'm gonna put some tunes on and I'm gonna make this as fun as I possibly can. I'm gonna bring my joy to this job. Same with
Mm.
washing the dishes. I could sit there and be miserable the whole time washing dishes. I could also buy a dishwasher, or like you could also hire an accountant, right?
Right.
But
Yeah,
it's
of course.
it's your attitude in which you approach these things that need to get done. Yeah.
Yeah, very much. And I agree. I mean, yes, we can always hire help to, support us, especially in those jobs that are not real great, the best use of our time. But the underlying thing that I think I hear you saying is like we get to choose our
Yeah.
experience.
Yes.
If I'm doing dishes or if I'm cleaning toilets or if I'm doing my bookkeeping, I get to choose how I want to experience that, right? And that's the place that we're fortunate because we can choose. Like that's quite the I don't know, honorable place to be.
Right? Yes. I'm glad that you picked up on that, because that is something that I say all the time. It's up to you. We've been given perhaps a pathway, who knows? It depends on what you believe in, but we've also been given free will and how we think and feel about everything that needs to get done. So yeah, glad you picked up on that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Candy, thank you so much for being on the show today. I've loved this conversation, and I know I'm going to be a guest on your show soon. So I can't wait to dive in a little bit deeper and more in our conversation. But what would you say to an audience who's maybe kind of struggling in this marketplace where it's like it's just chaos and it's noisy and everybody is selling stuff? What last words would you leave with the audience to give a little hope and a little motivation?
Yeah. So it is chaos and there is lots of people trying to sell stuff. And there's, I don't know, there's a place of back to that, the joy, right? Like I get to do this work that I
Yes.
love to do.
Yeah.
I get to show up and create products. I get to show up and create programs and offer them. And there's lots of those other people. And I've been around here for a while. I've seen some of those big names just kind of like drop off the radar.
Yep.
The biggest thing is just stick with it, enjoy it, do
Yeah.
the work, love your people, love yourself, keep showing up. It's going to work. You, you
Yeah.
know, just sticking with it is really going to put you far ahead of the crowd. And that sort of has got the comparison feel to it. But then on the other side is just remember that it's only you.
Yes.
You're doing this, you're getting to do something you love to do. And to remember that, I think is equally as important. Hope that helps.
So powerful. Thank you, Candy. Where might the audience find you if they want to check out your work and learn more about you?
So the easiest place to find me is on my podcast. And like you said, you're going to be a guest on my show. The episode will be coming out in a few weeks, but the podcast is called She Coaches Coaches. And that's the easiest place to find me. If you love listening to podcasts, then come on over and listen to me as well. And you'll find out all the different ways that you can come closer to my world.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Candy. I appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you.